Tim Herbert. Brown University.
So thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and members of the committee. My name is Tim Herbert. I'm a marine geologist and oceanographer at Brown University, and I'll try to be very succinct. I want to give you my perspective as a scientist that if you assess the impacts of climate change seriously, then you have a really urgent need to have a comprehensive solution to reducing greenhouse gases across the board. And that's why I'm speaking in support of this legislation. So my perspective as an earth scientist is that we try to understand how the earth changes naturally, and that gives a perspective, puts in context what we are doing, namely by fossil fuel burning. So as geologists, we know that carbon dioxide levels have changed in the past, but we can say that they've never been, for the last 800,000 years, where we actually have very good measurements, anything like today. In fact, we're about 30% higher than the geological record of 800,000 years of time. And that's happened in about 150 years since the Industrial Revolution. We know that the Earth's temperature changes naturally, but we can also say that we're approaching or have exceeded the highest temperature in those 800,000 years. Danny Musher, you heard from, made measurements like that in my lab at Brown before he's doing the job now, where we were reconstructing temperatures on the Earth before. We know as geologists that sea level has varied in the past, but we can conclusively show, in fact there's a very nice study by a PhD in our department named Jeff Donnelly, who looked at the march of salt marshes inland in Rhode Island because of sea level rise. And he showed conclusively that pretty much nothing had happened for about 2,000 years. And beginning about the year 1850, sea level rise accelerated abruptly and is continuing to accelerate to today. So these all clearly put what is happening now out of the bounds of what is usual for the Earth system. And furthermore, each of these indicators is accelerating rapidly. So one thing to think about, I tell my students or any college student in Rhode Island, in the 4 years they're completing their degree, carbon dioxide will have changed more than in 10,000 years before the Industrial Revolution. Every year I put a new number on my PowerPoint for where we are because it changes that fast. So the perspective and the science linking CO2, global warming, sea level rise, is not new science. In fact, the first predictions were made in 1896 by a Nobel Prize winning chemist in Sweden. We've refined those estimates, we have much more sophisticated models, but the basic idea has not changed much with more than 100 years of work. So I think there's no question about the fundamental robustness of the science and the impacts, which go well beyond temperature, to sea level, flooding, changes in rainfall, drought, and floods that affect agriculture, tourism, and other things in the state. So I don't want to take any more of your time, but I think that the scientific basis is robust. It's clear the problem is accelerating, and that we need really comprehensive, very significant reduction in greenhouse gases, especially carbon dioxide. Urgent. Thank you.
Thank you very much.